Hello everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. Right, after a bit of a travel getting here, I'm finally in Greenland, southern Greenland. I'm here with my partner Karen, and I'm meeting up with a couple of other guys that have signed up for a workshop with Terra Expeditions. And Terra is owned and operated by Jonas Porel. And I got to say, this, well, so far it's just been absolutely incredible. And I say that every video, but this really has been absolutely incredible. Right now I'm in a town called, okay, now I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing this. Nanortalik, Nanortalik. And the population here is primarily Inuit, so same as northern Canada. Speak almost the same, well, they do speak the same language, perhaps slightly different dialect. But as you can see, the town here is very colorful, and at the very back here we have one of the fjords that has these just incredible cliffs, some of them rising 1,000 meters in the air, just absolutely incredible. Okay, now it's taken a little while to get here because there are no direct flights. The way that we got here was actually through Iceland. So we flew from Vancouver to Iceland, and then from Iceland to a small town in southern Greenland called Narsarsuaq. And then yesterday we caught, well, as soon as we landed, we caught a helicopter to Nanortalik. Sorry. My apologies to anyone that's from Greenland watching this. I can't even speak English, let alone Inuit. Okay, so we're just waiting here for the other couple of guys. Unfortunately, it was bad timing on their part because there's actually a military exercise going on today, so they can't fly in by helicopter. They actually have to take a boat, and it's a 6-hour boat ride. Now, I think the boat ride will be absolutely spectacular, but it's a long trip after already taking a long trip, and I think one of the fellows is from Australia, so God knows how long he's been traveling for. But so we're meeting up tonight, and then we're going to be going into the wilderness for I think nine days, or seven nights or 8 nights. There's a bunch of fjords that we're going to go and visit, so I'm really excited about that. As you can see, the weather is, well, it's too good. It's warm right now, and, well, relatively warm and sunny. So hopefully we'll get a bit of cloud. We've had quite a bit of fog in the morning here, but now it's lifted. Anyway, just thought I'd introduce you to this area. We're going to walk around town and try and get some shots because the town is really pretty. It almost reminds me of Newfoundland a little bit, even though I've never been to Newfoundland. But it kind of reminds me of that vibe. A lot of houses on top of rocks and quite colourful. Now, before I traveled to Greenland, I actually bit the bullet and went out and purchased a Sony RX100 version 7. Now, I really enjoy using the Sony cameras for video, especially vlogging. And this is my third Sony RX100. The first one being the RX100 version 3, which is a great camera. But the autofocus wasn't all that great. So then eventually I got a version 5, which is again a fantastic camera. The autofocus is fantastic. The only problem with the version 5 was that it didn't have an audio jack. So all of my audio had to be recorded on an external device. And it's not that big a deal, but it is a bit of a pain putting audio to video in post-production. So when the version 7 came out and they said it had an audio jack, I bit the bullet and bought the camera. And luckily I got it just before I left for Greenland, but of course when I got to Greenland I hadn't even used the camera yet, so this was a great opportunity to take it out and use it to photograph the colourful buildings in Nanortalik. As many of you can imagine, getting around Greenland can be a little bit tricky. Part of the problem is that Greenland is covered in a huge ice cap. So the only places that are really habitable are along the coastline. And the coastline is primarily made up of huge fjords and valleys. So the only way to get around is either by boat or to fly. Now, Jonas has organized an expedition down the Tasermiut Fjord, which is a large fjord at the very southern end of Greenland. And the idea was to take a boat in and then spend 3 or 4 days in one of the side valleys and then get the boat to come and pick us up and take us into another valley for another 3 or 4 days. Right, after spending a couple of days in town, we've finally got to our destination down the, now I'm going to butcher the name of this again, I know. It's called the Tasermiut Fjord. I think that's what it's called. I'll leave the name down below here so I don't butcher it any more than I have to. So we've come right down to the end of the fjord, and well, you know what I'm going to say next. It is spectacular in here. Mountains surrounding us, coming right out of the ocean here. So this valley here goes on for quite a ways, and supposedly it has quite a lot of muskox. And then down right behind me here, there's a rather large glacier coming down. Almost looks like the glacier in Bugaboo Provincial Park with houndstooth. So this goes up to the ice cap, and of course the ice cap goes all the way up Greenland for miles and miles. And then just behind me here we have quite a few more spires, waterfalls, glaciers, you name it. There's lots to photograph here. This almost looks like the Bugaboos as well, actually. And then way up in the background here we have more spires that we haven't explored yet. We just got here, we're setting up camp, and we're going to be here for 3 nights, and then we're having a boat pick us up, and then we're going to have the boat take us to another location where we're going to camp for another 4 nights. Camp is just down here. We're kind of on a bit of a moraine, but yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Actually, there is a sailboat out there. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. It's a bit of a schooner, double-masted sailboat. So the boat ride in is very long. It took us about 2.5 hours to get here, and it was quite cold, but not as long as the rides that the 2 guys had that are with us yesterday. That took them 6 hours, which is a heck of a long time to be on a small boat. Luckily that boat was covered. This boat wasn't, so we had to wear survival suits and the whole bit. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. This is really exciting. The weather is supposed to be like this for the next several days. So it's going to be, you know, sunny skies with clouds. So hopefully we'll get a few more clouds just to make it a little bit more dramatic. Right, for this image I had to do a little bit of Photoshop trickery because I was shooting right into the sun. Flare was a little bit of a problem. So what I usually do in situations like this is I'll take several exposures, some exposures for the brightest areas or the highlights, in this case the sun, and also the shadows, in this case the shadowed side of the rocks in the stream there. Now I have two variations that I'll show you. This is the very first image that I combined in Photoshop, and then this is the second one. And the reason why I did two is because the very first one, I wasn't too sure about the contrast. It just looked a little bit too contrasty to my eyes. So I painted in some of the water that I took in a photograph after the sun had set. So I set up my camera, I took a bunch of images with the sun, and then I took some without the sun and combined the images so that I'd get a good variation in tones and also highlights and shadows. Now, as far as preventing lens flare, what I had to do was take several images with my finger, kind of as illustrated here, with my finger over the sun, so that it wasn't going right down into the middle of my lens. So let me know which photograph you like the best. Do you like the one with the softer water, or do you like the image with the higher contrast? Alright everybody, that's it for this week. Next week I'm going to show something a little bit different, and then in the coming weeks I'll put other videos in about my trip to Greenland. Thanks ever so much for watching again, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Alright, until next week, bye for now.